Hey, what's going on? Keith here from Sports Vibes TV, joined as always by my co-host Stephen Fox. Foxy, how's everything with you?
All is well. Shout out to you. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the SV Nation. I hope all is well. Woo! We had a dog in the house yesterday. I can't wait to talk New York Knicks basketball. How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. It's always great to stream following a Knicks win. It was definitely a nice victory. The Knicks ended up with the W 126-120 over the Utah Jazz. And we're going to talk about the game. We're going to talk about Josh Hart. It was his debut, first time wearing a Knicks jersey out there on the court. And I liked a lot of the things I saw out there. So we'll dive into that. We'll also bring you guys a Rokas update. You know, we normally do the Rokas Watch, and we're going to bring you some information regarding his play. He's definitely someone that should factor into this team in the future. We don't know when, but want to keep you guys informed with how he's doing. And also, we're going to talk about Mitchell Robinson and get into an injury update to see when he'll be returning. So thank you all for tuning in. Well, let's see who we have in chat so far. We've got Geraldine McIver, First Lady of SVTV. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate the support. JJ, thank you also for tuning in. Foxy, you want to give a shout out to anybody?
Frank Matos, 90s Nick, hope all is well. Splash 1976, Fabian Williams, hope all is well. And I love our girl Geraldine said, I really was impressed with Josh Hart yesterday. I like the way he hustled, played defense, didn't try to do too much, has a high basketball IQ, and he's happy to be in Nick. All right, we're finished with the stream, folks.
Pretty much wrapped it up right there.
Yeah, Geraldine just wrapped it up. That's our girl. So thank you.
Yeah, so we'll definitely start with Josh Hart. I'll put on screen his stats for the game. He had 11 points, 7 rebounds, 4 offensive, 3 defensive, 4 assists, 4 steals, only had 1 turnover, and you can see the shooting efficiency, 50% from the field, 66%, 67% if you want to round up from the three-point line, 75% from the charity stripe in 25 minutes, and he was +5 during his time on the court. So I was very happy with the way Josh Hart played in his first game. Came up big for us, especially in that fourth quarter. He had a nice offensive rebound, and he was able to find RJ Barrett for a corner 3. And also, he was able to knock down 2 threes himself. Coming in to the game or into the acquisition of Josh Hart, I was a little bit concerned as to how the shooting stroke would be. I saw a tweet in his recent games, he had started to shoot the 3 a little bit less, right around 2 threes per game, and he was shooting sub 30%. So to see the confidence, once he got the ball, he was able to shoot, no hesitation, and the fact that he was able to knock it down, I think that's very encouraging outside of what he was able to give us defensively.
Yeah, I think you just nailed it, that this is a game of rhythm. It's very difficult for you to get rhythm on 2 3-point attempts a game. I think it was like 2.2, something like that, 2.3. So, and when he shot better in the past from 3, it was when he had 5 or 6 attempts to get that rhythm going. So, yeah, hey, I thought to myself, he hit those 2. If he hit the third one, I thought the guard was going to come apart, man. If he hit that. Yep. Yeah, so that gorgeous half-court like bounce pass to Obi, you know, those rebounds, those tough rebounds, and you could see the respect from the other players on the Knicks. They were looking at him like, yo, a dog. And, you know, what hit me after the game was I mentioned on a stream a little while ago, like a month ago or whatever, when Brunson was out, that on the sidelines, he was sitting next to his father. There was like other coaches, and then on the other end of the bench was RJ and Obi, and at that time was Cam. But he was really away from the rest of the players, man. Brunson, he was right next to his dad, but the minute a timeout would happen, he would jump up, run to the guys, clap his hands, talk to the guys. He was into it, but he was into it from a really looking at the game standpoint. And whether it was what we talked about this week on the trade special that we have, folks, if you haven't watched it, please check it out. That when the news was so genuine of him saying, "Oh my God!" And if you watch his body language, him get a fist like I got somebody I can go to war with now. And then after the game with Rebecca Harlow, that not only the conversation, because I said last week after our trade show, is like, I think I may have said dog too many times, but it was funny because
they were running with it too.
Exactly. So I felt so much better because he's like, I'm a dog, and you can hear the fans saying, yes, you are, and we needed NASTY nasty in this town for some time. But when they walked off the court, they like had a hug with each other that was so genuine. It was like Jalen saying, I got a friend, I got a comrade, I got on this team now. I think he felt alone. Now he doesn't feel alone. The dogs are back, and I'm really excited about Josh Hart.
Yeah, even in the post press conference, you saw Josh Hart. He was able to show a screenshot of those two right after the news broke that he was going over to the Knicks, and you saw the joy in the both of them. So, well, more so Jalen Brunson, because you could barely see what Josh Hart was doing. His
They were
photo was a
giggling
little
like
bit
little
smaller, but
guys, like real friends do. They were giggling with each other and everything, and it was like, God, I think we're in heaven because we're back together again. So that made my heart, SV Nation's heart, and everybody's heart. Like, that's what we need, man. And now we got heart and soul with Brunson.
yep, and also there's familiarity with Julius Randle as well. They
63
mentioned,
games.
yeah, they mentioned that Julius Randle was his vet during his rookie year, and I'm pretty sure in those scenarios you spend a lot of time with your vet, starting to learn and how to get acclimated in the NBA. So he said it himself, when you have that type of relationship with two guys who are that guy. Here on this team, with Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson being the two best players on the team, you really won't have to worry too much about the fit. Also, we know this is a player that Tibbs is high on. We've heard nothing but glowing remarks from him when he's talking about Josh Hart. And you see, first game he didn't start, but he was out there to close with that with the lineup. So it shows that Tibbs has a lot of faith in Josh Hart. He's a big fan of his game. He fits in with Julius Randle, fits in with Jalen Brunson. So it definitely looks like a great fit on this team overall.
Yeah, he played crunch time. We were like saying, yeah, I think Tibbs likes him real quick.
That's a fact. I mean, unfortunately, Quick and Grimes were on the bench, but Grimes wasn't giving us anything offensively. And you could argue Quick might have warranted a little bit more play time. Was he 6 and 9 in the game? He was able to knock down the shots, and as usual, playing terrific defense.
Yeah, I think there's some rumors that some people sitting in the row behind Grimes that they smelled shit in his pants. Like, oh no, I ain't gonna get back on the court if this dude plays like this and is a dog like that. Because the only difference between me and him is when I hit my 3-pointers, or I don't hit my 3-pointers. I'm in a lot of trouble with this dude on this team.
Yeah, Grimes definitely has to stop making his shots, man. He's getting some good looks too. But, hopefully, fingers crossed, he'll be able to start hitting them, because defensively, I think Grimes, Hart, and Quick are all going to be locked down on the perimeter. It's just going to be who's going to be the one to knock down shots is going to determine who's going to be on the court to close.
Yeah, second year in the league. I don't know if his body, his whatever is ready for the minutes that he's been playing under Tibbs. So even though it's his second year, he may be hitting that proverbial wall, Grimes, that everybody knows that from a shooting mechanics perspective, legs are everything. So if his legs are a little tired because of the minutes Tibbs been running him, it's impacting his shot. So maybe him being on the bench a little will get those legs up, and maybe a fire under his ass to hit those threes. But man, I'd love us to have two Harts, one J Hart and one Grimes, very similar players, dogs and stuff like that. And the leverage it gives us with, like you said, IQ on perimeter, subbing them out. If RJ's on his game, cool. If he's not, let's sub him out and bring other guys. If IQ's not on his game, meaning other guys. So we have a lot more leverage now, especially on that perimeter defense.
Yeah, you mentioned Grimes in his lower body. I think it was the game against the Orlando Magic where we kind of closed with Deuce down the stretch, and we didn't really see him come in until somebody fouled out. And I thought it was because he was maybe hurting, because we did see a moment where he was rubbing his knee.
He was
grimacing a little bit on the bench. So that's something I would definitely keep an eye out on. But hopefully it's nothing, and it's just some of the bumps and bruises you deal with through an NBA season. But I want to get back to something you mentioned about Josh Hart and the fact that he was able to find Obi in transition. He found him a couple times, one for a bucket, and I think the other time Obi ended up getting fouled. So that's another thing you like about Josh Hart. He's not a player where the ball kind of sticks in his hands. He makes the right play, he moves the ball, and that's one of the big things with this team. The Knicks excel when the ball is moving and it's not sticking. Even when you look at some of our best players, Brunson, Julius Randle, the team works best or flows best offensively when they're doing their thing, but it's within the flow of the offense. You look at the three by Josh Hart, that was created off Jalen Brunson getting into the paint, being a willing passer, and finding Hart open for three. And I think with the unselfishness that you see sometimes from Josh Hart offensively, I think that's contagious. And I think that's something that we'll start to see a little bit more of throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, our girl Geraldine touched on his basketball IQ. After the game, folks, he said something I just loved. He was next to Brunson, like Keith was saying, and he makes the comment that, he used to play the outfield and that, he learned, the bat off the ball off the bat, the trajectory, getting under it and stuff. So he makes this comment that it sounded Dennis Rodman like that when I see the ball, how it hits the rim, if it's the front of the rim, the back of the rim, whatever, he anticipates based on visually seeing that where that ball's going to go. So, that's where his intuition comes from having a basketball IQ off the chart, that just visually seeing that he knows where that ball's going, but his head's up. He sees the floor beautifully. Like you said, a couple of things, no look passes and everything. He's a really, really good, that motor and everything. You see RJ on the floor diving. So RJ gave him a look like, yo, you're the deal, man. So
RJ better be diving, because if Josh Hart continues to play, he might eat into his minutes. We've already seen him completely take Deuce out the rotation. We hear Tibbs talking about Josh Hart potentially playing the 4. So right now, if you're RJ, if you're Quick, if you're Grimes, you got to feel like at any moment, Josh Hart could eat into your minutes if you're not playing well. So that's going to give the guys more of an onus to perform well. And we're going to see who has the ability to power through and go through that adversity and still play well. So I'm excited to see how this team is going to play moving forward. I was really thrilled to see what I saw from the Jazz. Of course, coming into the season, the Jazz weren't expected to be a great team, but they've been playing, decent throughout the season, and they're a competitive team, and they're coming off of a victory. So for us to play the way that we played and not give up leads, late in the game, which is something that we've experienced throughout the entirety of the season, was extremely encouraging. And you look at the ability to rebound and to fight, to finish out defensive possessions. I think that's something that Hart is going to continue to add to this team.
That's some impressive company in that graph you have up there, my friend, that he's leading guys like Draymond and Jalen and everything. So that's DAWG, folks. That's dog. And when you think about IQ, what a great rebounder he is for a guard, especially on long rebounds and stuff like that. Yo, I'm really, really jazzed about that. And you know what else I'm jazzed about? And you've brought this up, but I'd love us in the last 20 some odd games to experiment, with iHeart, with iHeart. We talked about prior to Josh getting here that Quentin Grimes was the only guy that really cuts to the basket. Now, I'd love a lineup of IQ, Quentin Grimes, Josh Hart, Obi on that second team, and iHeart. But iHeart in the pinch post, he has 2 cutters now. It changes. So I'd love us to run some possessions where he fakes a guy to the corner, the guy commits, guy cuts to the basket, bounce pass, boom, layup or dunk. So I think it opens up a whole new thing, having 2 guys that read the floor, have high IQ, that cut to the basket, and we've never really taken advantage of iHeart's passing ability. I'd love us to start doing that.
And that kind of plays into what Delano was asking here. Says, we're winning games, but do you feel that Tom Thibodeau should remain as the head coach going forward? Now, no, I don't think Tom Thibodeau is the right head coach. It's hard for me to say that we should move forward and fire him, especially when we're, being competitive game in and game out and we're winning games. But I think for this team to reach its full potential, we're going to need someone that's going to bring in and have an offensive scheme that's more creative than what we're doing right now. I think the ISO heavy offense that we're seeing is coming from a guy like Tom Thibodeau. We're not able to see iHeart in the pinch post, passing to cutters and things like that because Tibbs refuses to be creative with the offense. So me personally, I don't think Tom Thibodeau is the guy that should be coaching this team and is the guy that's going to lead us to championship contention. But, we have to allow things to play out and see how this team plays and responds to Tom Thibodeau for the remaining portion of the season. Because one thing we can say for sure is they haven't quit on him. And once they quit on him, then it's much easier for us to fire him. But right now, they're still giving 100% effort. We're seeing guys like you mentioned, RJ diving for loose balls and things like that. So remains to be seen. Hopefully, we can continue to be competitive throughout the remaining portion of the season. Because you look at a guy like Tom Thibodeau, the way this team is built, not necessarily win now per se, but we should be as competitive as we could be because we traded our first round pick. And I think we need to see if we can at least get to the second round and make some progress. So, Foxy, how do you feel?
Well, first of all, shout out to Delano Steele Jr., DSJ, the real DSJ. Hope all is well with you and the family. Hey, I'll reserve everybody, you and SV Nation know that I'm not a big fan of Tibbs, his minutes management, his lack of in-game adjustments, etc. Let's ride out the last 20 some odd games. God willing, we make the playoffs and or play in, but hopefully the playoffs, and we'll go from there. He hasn't had a good record in the playoffs, but I have to give him some credit. I see some changes. I mentioned, in our trade deadline show that, Tibbs benching RJ a few games ago. I was really impressed with that. I was impressed with him taking Jalen Brunson out on a defensive possession a couple of games ago and saying I was really impressed with that. And I was really impressed him playing a brand new player in his first game, Josh Hart, for the fourth quarter and in crunch time, thinking out of the box and saying, yo, as long as he's delivering, look what he's doing. That's contagious. Did you see him getting around the screens? You could not see more textbook. And, folks, the funny thing that we brought up with, him playing with Julius Randle, Jordan Clarkson was on that team too. So it was like a get together of other ex-Lakers. There was a couple of, and Clyde mentioned this, there was a couple of possessions where Clarkson, who was sixth man of the year, drained the couple. You could not have played any better defense than Josh Hart was on him. But that's why the NBA is the NBA. You can play the best defense in the world, the guys still drain it. So, but that type of getting around screens, hey, I apologize because I'm so amped up from us getting a player. He gets fouled. So this is his first foul shots. And what's he doing? He's saying to the guys on the Knicks, meaning Josh Hart, he's at the foul line shooting his first shots at the Knicks, and he's saying to the guys after the foul shot, which guys you got? You got him? You got that? I'm like, oh, God, I love this guy. He's already talking defensive assignments in his first game, just saying that we're prepared after the foul shot. If there's a rebound or inbound, who do you got? Where are you going? That's a winner, man. That's a winner.
Facts. And we've got a little bit more from Jalen Brunson. Oh, no, this is why Tibbs and Jalen Brunson are big fans of Josh Hart. You can see the Trailblazers had a 26-28 record this season before trading Josh Hart. However, Josh Hart has a plus minus of plus 124. So you can see teams definitely play better when he's out there on the court, just off his hustle. I want to say grit and grind. I know that's trademarked by the Memphis Grizzlies, but the title can still be applied to a guy like Josh Hart with the way he's playing and the IQ and the way other players out on the court feed off of his energy. We keep pointing back to the fact that RJ Barrett, when was the last time we saw RJ Barrett dive for a ball?
I can't remember. And there was at the end of the game, RJ gave him a glance like you're the ish, man. You're the shit, man. You everything that you're it. Although I don't think he's too happy after the game. RJ, instead of saying you came on strong in the fourth quarter, like, what do you think of Josh Hart? What do you think Josh Hart's favorite color is? He's like, man, I'm going to get tired of keep asking me Josh Hart questions.
We have this question from JJ. Says, how far can we really go with RJ and Grimes being this inconsistent? Well, hopefully, with the addition of a guy like Josh Hart, it'll help make RJ a little bit more, help him with his inconsistencies out there on the court, having somebody that he can rely on both defensively and know that if he starts to struggle offensively, Josh Hart can eat those minutes. You mentioned the interaction they had post game, so it looks like Josh Hart so far has been a positive influence on RJ, who, to be honest, struggled in the first half of that game. But luckily for us, he was able to come on in the second half and show us how valuable he can be when he's firing on all cylinders. But inconsistencies has definitely been a big issue between RJ and Quentin Grimes. And with Grimes, you look at him, he's a guy that we've withheld from multiple trade deals and trade packages. So we need him to start to kind of click and be much more consistent to justify us holding him out of certain trade talks and not allowing us to acquire certain players. So JJ, nice observation. They definitely have been extremely inconsistent. And if we're going to try and get to the second round, we're going to need them to step up big time.
Yeah, shout out to JJ, man. Really good dude. And man, does he know basketball.
Yeah. All right. I think we have another slide on our guy, Josh Hart, before we move forward. Oh, no, this is a Cam Reddish one. I thought we had a. There we go. Moving too fast. So here, this is Tibbs on Josh Hart playing power forward. Tom Thibodeau says he could see Josh Hart play some power forward because of his physicality. Adds, I think his toughness is a big thing. Now, this one is an ominous sign for a guy like Obi Toppin because you're looking at, playing power forward. That would be the backup Julius Randle. And in the game against the Jazz, Obi Toppin only got 9 minutes. So it kind of looks back at what we did here at the trade deadline. Should we have moved Obi Toppin if you're looking at a guy like Josh Hart who can supplant him as the backup power forward? At least it seems like that's potentially on Tibbs' plan or agenda.
Yeah, if you read between the lines, it's because of his physicality. Does that mean because of Obi's lack of physicality? And exactly. I think if his toughness is a big thing, so does that mean he thinks he's soft? Lack of toughness? So Tibbs plays that game. So whether making stuff out public that RJ needs to get back in the gym after the games to get back that 3-point shot, he's known to make these, subliminal comments. And that was comments. Those back, and this says Obi all over it. So hopefully it puts a fire under his ass, but he looks terrible, and he keeps smacking his hand after getting beat on defense, just terrible on defense and just can't seem to get himself going. But we talked about this with Knox. It starts on defense, man. You got to be a dog and start playing that way. And he's not. So that's why Tibbs is talking about a 6'5" guy playing the 4. My gosh.
And also you look at Hart, if he's knocking down his threes and Obi isn't, and he's giving you that defense, then you can see them potentially putting Obi Toppin at the end of the bench and he'll replace Cam where Cam was sitting. But I mean, it's unfortunate because I think Obi can still be a solid player. It's just the way we've been using him is definitely has not put him in a position to succeed. And it's really unfortunate because I envision us eventually moving on from Obi, and I could see him popping somewhere else. I know there's issues defensively, but I just think if you look at what he was able to do in college and you look at the way he's been used now, it's really hard to get into a rhythm offensively. And then defensively, look at a guy like Obi, he's going up against other players and he's really not given enough minutes to really get acclimated and understand what he needs to be doing out there on the court. I mean, I understand, there's times in practice where you can learn and things like that, but from what we've heard about this Tom Thibodeau coaching regime, they don't really play much 5-on-5. So to really understand what your assignments are going to be, you have to be out there on the court and be in the midst of the action. And unfortunately, with Julius Randle playing the way he's been playing, it really doesn't leave much room for Obi Toppin to get much burn. And now you hear how Tibbs is talking about Josh Hart and him potentially playing at the 4. I really don't see a spot for Obi to flourish here on the New York Knicks, and it's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. You used a number 8 pick where you can get, a foundational piece and every once in a while a great piece, to a team. And you want to invest in that, give them the minutes so their development could go. And we never understood it from day one, but he's not helping his cause. He's not going after that ball on rebounds like a maniac. And, he's not a good rebounder. He's not a shot blocker. He's not a rim protector. So those are things that adhere. How does a guy like Josh Hart in his first game get those minutes? He maps everything he does into what Tibbs loves. And Obi's not making those attempts. Everyone that we've seen unsuccessful, Cam, Knox, and now those are the guys that didn't work on that side of the ball and saying, why aren't I getting burned? Because he can't trust you in crunch time. You think he's going to trust you in playoffs? How are you supposed to trust somebody when you keep missing defensive assignments? And also not willing to, it bothers me when I see that Jalen Brunson is second in the league in taking charges and a guy I think third or fourth is Kevin Love, an old guy like Kevin Love, and RJ and a few other guys. You never see them take a step to their left to take a charge. I want to see that toughness, man.
Yeah, definitely something you'd like to see. Let's see what else we got going on in chat. Craig says RJ has been shooting 30% on three in his last 30 games. I think the issue with RJ isn't 100% with his offense. I think it's more so his defense and how he's been getting cooked lately. So the 3-point shot, the fact that he's knocking that down is definitely encouraging. He's been better at finishing, especially when he's been getting to the paint. But defensively, we really need him to step up. And hopefully, IQ plays solid defense. Grimes, even when his shot's not falling, he's playing solid defense. And Hart, he plays solid defense. So with those three guys as options, if RJ doesn't step it up on that end of the court with those guys nipping at his heels, then I'm not sure what it's going to take for him to take that step forward defensively.
Yeah, and we talk about making the players around you better. You can't have an approximate 1-to-1 assist to turnover ratio like RJ has. And also, game after game, he's showing low IQ, making really bad passes. Like you're like, what the hell were you thinking there? Or not seeing guys open. Like he's open. Obi's open, and then he's jumping all over like, Jesus, what do I have to do? I have to get a freaking pass here. So, RJ needs to work on so many other parts of his game. And like you were saying, I'm glad he came on in the fourth quarter, but that inconsistency in the season and within games, we were glad if he was consistent in the game, maybe he wouldn't have to come on in the fourth quarter, and hit clutch buckets. We need him to be consistent. And a big difference between RJ and Josh Hart is Josh Hart. There's centers in the league that don't finish 70% at the rim like Josh Hart does. And we see every game. Can we go a game where he doesn't get a shot, meaning RJ blocked twice in a game? He seems every game he gets a shot, and that's an IQ thing to me. And the last but not least is a couple games ago, he hits this gorgeous midi. Instead of taking that extra bounce, that extra dribble, get into the land of the Giants, he takes his pull-up jumper from the foul line, the midi, swish. And I'm like, yo, that's your key to a great career. Look at DeRozan. Fuck the three, man. Hit that midi like that, and if the guy takes one step to you, then get to the hole, using that body. I want more N1s from him and stuff like that. So, but I will say this about the game yesterday, blinded by Josh Hart's coming and us winning. We couldn't get away with that game, folks, against a really good team in the playoffs. We shot 33% from three, 74% from the foul line. That's going to come. How much has Keith and I been talking? That'll come back to haunt you. You can't do that. We had 18 assists. That's not the type of team playing that we want. There were, open threes. They missed a whole lot of open threes, the Jazz, so we lucked the hell out, but they still shot over 51% from the floor. So we won that game. We had 6 turnovers, which were phenomenal. 20 offensive rebounds. We out-rebounded 52-38 when they had 3 7-footers. Second chance points. We absolutely, second chance points was 24-8. That's bingo catnip, game over. That's huge. So there were good things, but folks, we can't get blinded that against a really good team, we could have got lit up yesterday, man.
Yeah, definitely. But I think a lot of those will remedy themselves once we get Mitchell Robinson. They killed us in points in the paint, and I think you really won't see that with a guy like Mitchell Robinson in the paint. I mean, Jericho Sims got dunked on. How many times were we seeing our centers get dunked on when Mitch was healthy? Not too frequently.
I'm with you. Inf don't want to hear this, but we can't get Mitch back quick enough that, and then we've talked about this. Jericho Sims, we like him. Hey, he had 10 rebounds yesterday, but he's 6'9". He got his shot blocked 3 times by real 7-footers in this league. It's very difficult for him, even with his hops. Hart was the better matchup against those big guys, Kessler and stuff like that. So, we saw that he didn't match up well against Bam Adebayo, and we saw that he didn't match up well against these Giants and stuff like that. He's got to find, and he keeps doing those reaching fouls, So there was a couple things in the game that bothered me. If I was a coach, if I was Tibbs or I was Randall's confidant, I would say to him, "We are so proud of you. We want you to go to Utah, have a great All-Star game. You've earned it. But when you come back for the second half of the thing, don't go near a fucking referee. I am so goddamn." The first timeout in the game yesterday, folks, he walks across the court on the opposite sideline with his hands up, complaining to the ref while his team's in a timeout. And also in a tight game, he walks over, I'm the boss here on the defensive 3-second, and he takes the foul shot. He has Brunson and IQ there. So if you're cool and you're all about the team, you're going to say, yo, I'll let you guys divvy it up. Who wants to take the foul shot? But you're the best. He's shooting like 74%, and he determines that I want to shoot this, and he missed it. So you want to times. I know. So you want to pull that bullshit. You better drain that. But if you don't, come on, man. I don't want to see. It bothers me like, oh no, don't let this come back to haunt us at the last 20 games of the season. Bad behavior, come on. And it's like, I am such a fan of what he's done. He's resurrected himself for the second time with the Knicks coming back. But it could happen. Knicks fans, one freaking second of a bonehead play. Like, what are you thinking? And so he's got to stop this bullshit with the referees, man, where he's talking like 3 plays after that possession. He's still talking to the ref about this stuff. Somebody, either his meditation consultant, whatever, this shit got to stop because it's going to haunt us.
Yeah, you got to keep an eye out on Julius Randle. And they try. I forgot what game it was. He was getting into it with the refs. I think it was at the end of the game. What was it? Who did we lose against?
Where Brunson was trying to pull him away, and he's like, "I got this."
Yeah. That was against Philly. We lost against Philly, and Brunson was trying to get in front of him and try to make sure that he didn't get any suspensions or anything like that. So that's something that Tibbs said the team has to do, right? You got to save Julius Randle from himself. So hopefully, he doesn't get any more technicals to the point where he's actually going to miss games. But it's definitely something you got to keep an eye on, with the fact that he continues to argue with the refs. And me as a fan, I really don't like it too much. Yes, there are some situations where the refs missed a foul, and or they called the foul on you incorrectly and you're frustrated and whatnot, but there's still a level of decorum that you should be acting out there on the court, and all that demonstrative screaming and complaining. One, it doesn't look good, and two, sometimes it stops him from getting back and getting on defense and things like that, and it puts the team at a disadvantage. So hopefully that's something he'll be able to. I don't know if he'll get it out of the system, because he's been doing it his entire career for as long as I've seen him here with the New York Knicks. But maybe guys will get involved a little bit quicker, so that way you snap back out of it and get back on court. But it's Julius Randle. Guy's a head case. He's going to have issues every now and again. So
and 3,
deal with it.
And 3, it's contagious. RJ argued a call, pulled a Julius, and well, Tibbs sticking up for him got teed up, I thought. So, but it was the whole thing. And then you see the replay, like, oh, I think that ball came out of RJ's hands on its own. So it's like, this is a critical part of the game, man. You can't be pulling this shit. You got to, just suck it up and say, effing refs, and just get down. So again, Josh Hart, I'm hoping that this dog will get into Randall's face and like, chill, man, chill.
Paris Douglas says, good news. Josh Hart knows Randle better than Brunson. That should help control Randle when he's distracted. Facts.
Yeah, we're brothers. See, Parrish and I thinking alike. Hope all is well with you and the family, Parrish.
Yep. And just to discuss it a little bit, the guy that we traded for Josh Hart, he ended up playing for the Blazers, I believe, on Friday. He had a solid showing. His first game, he had played 17 minutes, 11 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. Shot 57% from the field, 40 from the 3-point line, and 100% from the charity stripe. And he was +4 out there in his minutes of play. And I think it was a solid showing. It showed that Cam was ready to be thrust into action. I mean, he hadn't played since December 3rd, and he was thrown into the starting lineup. I think the jump shot, he was able to knock down the jump shots, but his form still looks a little bit wonky. So he'll have to do some work on that in the lab to get that better. But defensively, there was still some issues. He got cooked a couple times, but you can see, he was able to get a deflection or two and still be somewhat impactful defensively. So, Foxy, you watched the game as well. Anything that you saw from Cam during his time out there on the court?
Just that, and I was talking to JD about this. Shout out to JD Sports Talk. That let's talk at the end of the season. That this is Cam. This is just a personification of Cam. Shows this flash, and then the next 4 games will be 6 points, 8 points, 7 points, then 21 points. See, he's realizing his potential. Then 7 points, 6 points, 5 points, 21 points. I know he's doing it. So let's see how consistent he'll be for the Trailblazers. Bottom line is, I hope he could replicate it. He's a young guy. We goof around, but, we are compassionate. We know these guys have played their whole life to reach. So hopefully he can get that motor of his going and reach that potential with Portland. But not all players are ready, made for New York, and Josh Hart is. Cam Reddish wasn't.
Hey, Foxy, I'm not going to say Cam Reddish wasn't built for New York. He never got an opportunity. Tibbs never gave him a legitimate opportunity to play. He got injured, left the rotation, came back, and his job was taken.
Well, I just thought I agreed with Tibbs that he's inconsistent, that he was inconsistent. He'd play on the defensive side one game, yep, and other times he's missing his defensive assignments on switches, things like that. He from his career from Atlanta onward, he's never been a good shooter, but he has this God-given skill for snaking to the basket and stuff like that. So it was just taking advantage of those things, and also injuries. That he's, every time you thought he was going to finally get 20 games or, be able to have a sample that we could really see this guy, shoulder injury, groin injury, this injury, dog ate his homework, whatever it was, that, it gets aggravating. And he went through the same thing at Atlanta, that this is his last shot with Portland, 3 strikes and you're out. And then, in your 5th year, your 4th year, but going, you're a bust. Nobody talks about realizing potential in your 4th year, man. You have to do something, and you have to show that you're durable in this league.
I hear you, Foxy. He's definitely been inconsistent, but we spent the whole, 15, 20 minutes to start the live stream talking about other inconsistent guys on the Knicks, and they were never banished to the bench. So he was never really given a fair shot. I think now with his time with the Blazers, you got a guy like Chauncey Billups, a former player. He threw him into the starting lineup, and I think that was a big move. Showed that Chauncey Billups has faith in who Cam can be as a player in the league, and I think you look at a guy like Cam, that's what he needs. He needs a coach that's going to show some faith in him and can, show some faith in his God-given ability and his talent. And I think Chauncey Billups was able to do that by throwing him into the starting lineup. He said he was only going to play him 15 to 20 minutes, so he got that 17 minutes, and we didn't really see him close the game. And the Blazers, for the most part, unraveled during the whole time Cam was on the bench. So I think, yes, he's inconsistent at times, and we have to see more from him in order to say, he's figuring it out. But it was definitely a good start for Cam. So, kudos.
It was a good start. Kudos to him. I agree.
Hopefully he can figure it out.
Word.
Let's see what's got going on.
Because sometimes third time's the charm. Sometimes third time's the charm. So hopefully for his sake, it is the charm.
Yep. And Tibbs, he had a little bit to say on Cam when he got jettisoned. He said Tom Thibodeau says he had no problem with Cam Reddish, but fell out of favor because of his inconsistency. And Foxy, you had mentioned that was one of the reasons Tibbs said he was banished to the end of the bench.
It's a possession-to-possession thing. So that's why with Josh Hart, that's why with Quentin Grimes, possession and possession out, they may have some issues on the offensive side, but that dog is usually there on the defensive side. On the offensive side, it may be like wonky, like you said, but Cam, he played tough, and then come on, Cam, and then he played tough within a game. So coaches like Tibbs, that's not going to go over well, and it didn't. And so hopefully Chauncey could bring out the best in him.
Here we got a funny comment from David Smith. He says Tibbs fired twice. His third firing will be the charm for the Knicks.
Hey, David, shout out, man. Hey, folks, we have a.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say we have, I believe, 121 in the. We have 123 in the chat and 34 likes. So do us a favor, smash that like. Do us a solid. If you have subscribed, thank you so much. Please tell a friend to tell a friend. If you haven't subscribed, as Keith and I like to say, it's the one-stop shop for all Knicks news, rumors, and analysis. Please turn on that reminder bell so you don't miss out on any of the wonderful content. If you can't catch it live, Please shout out to the replay gang. Please drop those comments. We love those comments. There were a whole lot of comments this past week. So we enjoy chopping it up with you. And last but not least, shout out to the best mods on the planet. We appreciate all you do.
Facts. We got this from Frats Calibags as we're going to the second round in the playoffs this year. From your keyboard to God is, man. Fingers crossed.
It's all about matchups, Frats. So if we get the right matchup and we peak at the right time, anything's possible. We talked about the Mavericks last year in the Western Conference Finals, man, getting their defense together at the end of the season. And defense, that's the biggest thing for us. We get a tight defense. Mitch comes back. We could be a dangerous team.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this team looks with Mitch back as the defensive anchor and guys like Josh Hart, Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickley flanking him on the perimeter.
Yeah, that second line of defense, we've been missing it
badly. Like I said, there's been quite a few games where Jericho Sims been getting boofed on.
Terrible. I mean, terrible.
Who boofed on him against the Jazz? Was that Laurie that drove and dunked on us?
Yo,
I was like,
that was nasty.
Yeah, and these big guys make him look puny.
God, Kessler looked like he was, like 2 feet, and you're like, man, he's big. Oh my God, he looks tiny. And then he, like you said, on one possession, he got the ball. They kept blocking his ass. Like he's supposed to jump through the roof.
He got blocked twice, right? That's what I'm saying. Like Jericho, bro, you going to have bungees, all this. Your head can go above the rim. Why aren't you throwing the ball down on these guys' head tops? What's going on, man? You can block left, right, and center. I'm like, holy.
You know why? Because when they put your body on you can't jump like that.
Yeah, true.
So it's like all of a sudden you become 6'9" and they're 7'3".
Yeah, but he's supposed to get into their body. He's supposed to get into the body of the shot blocker and then dunk it on his head.
I know.
He's over there letting them swat it left, right, and center. It's crazy.
He's a different type of guy, man. There was one I was watching, they cut to the sideline. I don't know if it's Josh Hart. I think it was Josh Hart. He did something great. Everyone is jumping up. He was just sitting there by himself, like stoic, no smiling. He just zoom. So I'm like, yo, he's a different guy, man. He's not a lot of emotion either way, high or low.
I'm interested to see how this is going to work in the All-Star game because it's all about the flair. Yes, you want the high, you want the crazy dunks, but it's the flair that's accompanying the dunk that really sways the judges. And if you go up there, you dunk it, and you got straight stone-faced, I don't see a lot of 9s and 10s. So I'm rooting for him, hopefully, but he's going to have to lighten it up just a little bit.
Yeah, and Lord, please forgive me. I have to be truthful. That I was like, maybe someone will turn an ankle. I want Brunson. He's been magnificent. Brunson deserves to be in Utah. He deserves to be on that All-Star team. So I had some bad thoughts, like, maybe a tweak in the back. I don't want any serious career injuries, but maybe a 2-week thing where I'll be fine in 2 weeks and I'll be back as new. But I want our guy Brunson in that All-Star game. Jesus, he belongs there, man. He absolutely belongs there.
He may get it over Jaylen Brown if he's not able to play.
Oh, I hope so. He deserves it so much. And you know what? I don't know what Brunson's contract, but I don't know if a lot of people know that Randle, $1.19 million to make the All-Star game. That bonus kicked in, so he made a quick $1 million. So I don't know if Brunson has that type of clause in his contract. He doesn't.
No.
Oh man, well let's do a page to get him the GoFundMe page for
I think with the contracts he signed, he'll be all right. It'll go.
Yeah, I think he can make it through. Yeah, because I was watching. Look at the rollies on both Brunson and on Josh Hart. Man, they got some fine watches there.
Oh, they had some Rolexes on. I didn't even peek.
Yeah, they had some fine timepieces. Maybe it was a Piaget. I don't know, but they definitely weren't wearing Timex. I'll tell you that.
I know Brunson got nice taste in cars. He got a G-Wagon.
Yeah, they're sweet.
Yeah, 2022.
They're sweet.
Too. All right, let's see what else we got going on. So let's look at how these guys have been performing so far throughout the season. You can see RJ Barrett throughout the season. We mentioned how he's been shooting over the last 20-30 games, but for the season, only at 33%. Julius Randle, his 3-point percentage at 33.9% as well. You can look at Jalen Brunson. He's been on fire from three, shooting 40.7% from the 3-point line. And I think he should start shooting a little bit more from the 3-point line. I know he's pretty confident in what he can do in the mid-range and get into the basket, but I think he can benefit from an uptick in his 3-point shooting. And also, you can see we've got three guys averaging 20 points per game. We've got Randle leading the pack at 24.9 points per game, Jalen Brunson at 23.6 points per game, and then you've got RJ Barrett rounding out the three at 20.1 points per game. And as they mentioned, if they all stay above that 20 point per game threshold, it'll be the first time three lefties have averaged 20 points per game in a season.
And also for the year, when they score over 20 points in a game, they're 7-3.
Yeah. So both, well, a lot of people like to call them the mid three, but Jalen Brunson, he's been balling, and Randle, he's back to that all NBA version. So I don't think the mid three moniker really fits them anymore.
With you.
Anything from this slide jumps out to you, Foxy?
Just like you said, three guys averaging 20 points. That's awesome. Like we said, I'll start with RJ. That we showed before a guy 6'6" and below the top rebounders, and he has 5.3. We'd like him to be a little tougher on those rebounds. That assist 2.8 to 2.3 assist to turnovers. Come on, RJ. Tibbs has talked about that. If your shot's not falling, have other parts of your game. He has the ability to pass, but sometimes either it's, I don't know what it is, but we need those assists to go up. The 33% from three, and that's 74.8. We talked about it, from a development standpoint, a big step this year. Last year, he would have been a 20-point scorer if he hit his foul shots. We wanted, and especially in his position, you have to start comparing him to the people at that position, whether shooting guard / small forward. It has to be an 8. It has to be 80% or better. So him falling down to 74.8. Come on, RJ, man. That has to come up. So we'd love to see by the end of the season at least league average for both 3-point percentage and for foul total. The same thing for Randle. I made the comment about him taking the defensive 3-second the shot yesterday. His foul shooting's going downhill drastically. He's now down to 75.3. So we need him to hit those foul shots, and maybe not take so many threes. If he's hitting them, fine. But if not, eat in the mid range, Quentin Grimes. And again, we're talking about that 3-point shot that we don't know if it's fatigue, impacting his form or whatever, but son, Josh Hart will eat your minutes if you don't pick that up.
Yeah, that's the thing. I like competition, man. It thrives and it pushes players to improve. Because if not, they're going to end up on the bench and potentially moved. You look at RJ Barrett, they bring in a guy like Josh Hart. If he's going to be here long term, I know that's not guaranteed, but they invested a first round pick and traded for him. You would assume they're going to look to extend him here in the offseason. I assume he's going to opt out and then sign a new deal with the Knicks or another team in free agency. And with him here now, I think it might make RJ Barrett a little bit more expendable. I forgot who showed me. Believe it was George. Sent me a text, showed me a stat of the team's plus minus with Brunson and Barrett on the court together, Brunson and Randle on the court together, and then Barrett and Randle on the court together. And the team is better when two of those three play as opposed to all three of them. So I believe RJ Barrett or Julius Randle at some point is going to be dealt in order to help make this team a championship contender. And if RJ Barrett continues to struggle, he may be that piece that gets moved in the offseason to bring in that, top 10, top 15 player in order to make us legitimate championship contenders. So he's going to have to pick it up if he wants to stay and be a Knick long term.
Yeah, and another thing from a coach's development standpoint, maybe the first step is putting RJ in the second team where he can thrive. And we talked about it last year with Fournier that, we're seeing RJ, it's not so much as a technique, is that he's physically challenged. When he can't stop a person at point of attack. He's too upright from a technique too upright in his technique, but they just blow past him. And, we know he's slow around screens, but screens are hard, but still, his speed. So maybe on defense, he won't be lit up so much on a second team, and he'll eat on offense. So maybe he could be a 6 man of the year. Not everybody's meant for that. You wish a number 3 pick is have a higher upside, but hey, 6 men. We saw Jordan Clarkson yesterday. They could be very, very valuable. But like you just said, Keith, maybe having 2 guys with styles like Julius and RJ at the same time on the court, it just doesn't jive. So if we could get him, or we'll see, hopefully he could pick it up in the rest of the season, and he could be a viable part of our foundation going forward. But if not, a lockdown 3 to have a at the 2, all of a sudden have Josh Hart at the 2, a lockdown 3, Randle and stuff like that. That makes it even a scarier team, man. At this point, they are over 9 points better when RJ's not on the court this year, the Knicks. That's an ugly statistic, man. You don't want to see that. I don't want to even talk about it, but the stats don't lie. Look at off court and Basketball Reference, folks. 9.6 points better when he's not on the court, RJ.
And also, I saw somebody in chat mention a potential deal where we could discuss trading RJ over to Brooklyn for Mikal Bridges. I mean, that's something I would entertain
in a second.
In season, which you're seeing Mikal Bridges. It'll be. I'm gonna be focused on what the Nets do post Durant and Kyrie trade, because I really want to see if Mikal Bridges can, blossom in a system where he's looked at as the guy. Because if that's the case, and he does show that he can step up and be, I don't know if he'll be top 20 or anything like that in the entire league, but you look at what he can give to you defensively. He can knock down the 3. You look at the size. I think he would fit on this team a little bit better than RJ Barrett, and there's already that connection between Brunson and Hart from their days in Villanova. So that's something I think that the Knicks should explore if RJ Barrett continues to struggle defensively, especially for the rest of the season.
Yeah, they brought Mikal Bridges here, and you have those 3 Villanova dogs together. Wow, that would really, really be something. So
look at me, I'm getting ahead of myself already. We traded for Cam, and we wanted the whole Blue Devil reunion, and now we want a Villanova reunion with Mikal.
Yeah, the difference is Villanova won national championships. Duke didn't.
Foxy throwing shade. I hear you.
Well, they play the game the way you want to play it, man. They're all business, and I love that. And also, folks, talking about, I said this to Keith and a couple of our friends off camera, that one of the players I'd really target in the offseason on the cheap, because when you think about Brunson under contract, RJ under contract, Julius under contract, Mitch under contract, and us having to sign Josh Hart this year, is Watanabe, the 6'8" wing.
Oh, Utah?
No, he was on Toronto. He's on the Nets now.
No, yeah, his first name is Utah.
I thought you said Utah from
no.
Utah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like him. He knocked down the 3. He's
and he's versatile on defense. He could cover ones and stuff like that. He has that Toronto heritage and legacy and stuff like that. He can nail the 3, so I think he'd be a great free agent acquisition. He may not be sexy, but if we can't get Mikal and stuff like that,
I thought they negotiated a longer term deal with him.
Did they?
No? Oh no, yeah, 1 year, $1 year, $2 million. Yeah,
he's a free agent at the end of this year.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, thank you. I try to be. So, if we can get him on the cheap, that'd be a nice pickup, man. A versatile long wing like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's if he doesn't play his way out of our price point, because we should have the mid-level exception available, so we can probably use a portion of that to bring him in. But the way he's been balling and knocking down shots, I'm sure he'll have some suitors.
Yeah, and I'm thinking maybe $15 million a year, 3-year, $45 million or so for Josh Hart, for him to re-sign.
Sounds reasonable. That'd be about like a $3 million raise from what he's making now.
Correct. Right on the dot, my friend.
All right, that works. And speaking of Josh Hart, here we have the new look second unit for now, because I could definitely see Josh Hart be elevated into the starting lineup, but right now we're utilizing him off the bench, and you can see Emmanuel Quickley, Josh Hart, Obi Toppin, Isaiah Hartenstein, even Hart. He's been playing well. I wouldn't be shocked if at some point we may see him get elevated into the starting lineup at some point. I mean, he's closing. He's playing more minutes than Jericho in most of these games, right?
He is. and depending on the matchups and stuff like that.
Yeah, he played
Uh,
about a minute and a half more than Jericho in the game against the Jazz.
yeah. So I think there's a lot of IQ that he has, or I have issues with iHeart, major issues with iHeart, but Jericho Sims, he looks really lost at times, man. Really lost. And it bothers me because he came out as a senior from Texas, and Texas, the heritage, Miles Turner, Jackson Hayes, all of these guys that went there, in the off season that he worked out all those years with. So he's only a couple months older than, only a couple months younger. He's basically the same age as Mitchell Robinson. So I was hoping that Sims was a little more sophisticated, coming from the Texas centers and stuff like that. But he looks really lost. So I could see iHeart, like you were saying, especially when Mitch comes out. That I think Sims is going to be the odd man out. It'll be Mitch coming back to his normal position, and iHeart is his backup.
Yeah, Sims will definitely hit the pine once Mitch comes back.
Word.
All right, so looking at iHeart, the 3-point shot for him not really falling, 23.5% so far this season. He really has kind of stopped taking them outside of what the one he took in overtime.
I know.
You've got Obi. He's shooting 35% from the 3-point line. That's starting to drop. Wasn't he shooting at one point right around like 47% from the 3-point line? And he's starting to head in the wrong direction. Now only shooting 35% from the 3-point line.
Yeah, and
Hart, what?
Yeah, exactly. And we have it in green for 35%, but that was based on more of last year. That he's better than last year. He's come down from where he was, Obi. But like we're saying earlier in the stream, that it's hard for the poor guy to get any rhythm with the minutes that Tibbs is giving him.
Yeah,
and again,
go ahead.
I apologize. No, please.
Stanley Mann says, has Nerlens been bought out by Detroit? He's not traveling with Detroit. Should we give Noel a 10-day contract with Mitch out? No. Yeah, I'm perfectly fine. I'd rather have Sims struggle and figure out who he is and what his what he can be here in the league than go back and retread on that Nerlens Noel signing.
Yeah, hope all is well, Stanley, with you and the family. Did you forget about Nerlens' hands? Those hands can aggravate you.
Hart already can barely catch. Now we're going to bring Nerlens Noel back in.
Yeah, I know, the team with the misfit hands.
Jesco says it's RJ's secret tactic. Make the opponent think you're the worst player on the court, then start to percolate, devastate in the second half. Salute to Jesco. Pretty funny quip. Also found a way to make a nice Clyde reference. See what else we got going on in chat. Craig says Grimes is shooting 30% on 3 from the last 15 games. What does the stats tell you about him?
Tired legs.
Let's see what he's doing so far. 10.2 points per game, 3.4 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game, 1.1 turnovers per game. Field goal percentage is decent, 44.9%, and then the 3-point percentage is at 34.6. So definitely he's been struggling. And I think the issue with Grimes is he's been missing wide open looks. That's the problem. If there were, players closing out and he was taking tough threes under the shot clock, you'd understand. But he's supposed to be a sharpshooter for the squad, and there's guys not within 4 or 5 feet from him, and he's clanking them left, right, and center. So I need him to start knocking down that 3-point line if he's going to get the type of minutes he's been getting. And if not, we've mentioned it throughout the stream. We got Hart here who can chop into his minutes, and if he's knocking down the 3 a little bit better than he's been doing so far this season, he's going to be a serviceable replacement, and he's going to eat into Grimes' minutes. And the problem with that is it's going to further devalue a guy like Quentin Grimes, who would then start to lose minutes, and then he won't be in a situation where we have like Cam Reddish, where he has no value. But if we're going to look to make some moves and make some trades to help bring in some, heavy hitters to the squad, we're going to need Quentin Grimes to figure it out, start knocking down his shot, that need to help us get further along into the playoffs or become a valuable trade asset to bring in some key guys.
Yeah, he's got to work on a midi in the worst way in the offseason.
He needs to hit up Quick, because Quick figured it out.
Exactly. And he's shown this year that it looks like he has a little burst. The guy comes, defending that 3-point line on him. He blows past him. but then he always like seems to go in the air, and instead of going for the shot, he always drops it off, or he has to make a pass, kick out. It's like you're in nowhere land. Go up for, or just pull up. Don't take that extra dribble. Pull up for pull up for a jumper, a midi jumper. So that's absolutely the next thing that I'm hoping in his development that we see him not only hitting that three more consistently, but he adds a mid-range jumper to his repertoire.
Facts. KD NOFYUDBN says IQ should be in a starting lineup. He's earned it. I'd be open to Quick in the starting lineup. It's just, would you take away too much offensive firepower from this second unit? Because if you do take Emmanuel Quickley from the starting line, from the second unit, then you really don't have a legit point guard to run the offense, and you'd have to rely on either RJ Barrett to play the one with the second unit when he's out there, or overlap Jalen Brunson and kind of ask him to do even more than he's already doing. So with Emmanuel Quickley with that second unit, at least you have some offensive firepower and somebody that can kind of create somewhat off the dribble and knock down some shots. So I think Quickley has earned the right to start. It's just the way the team is constructed right now. We really need his firepower off the bench.
Yeah, and also taking a thing out of Tibbs, KD, is that finishing, closing. So I'm not so focused on him, but in closing, if because of the defensive Quick versus RJ's, that I could see RJ on the bench and having a Quick and Josh Hart along with whether Quick and or Grimes, but with Josh Hart, but depending on who's hot, who's playing well, and RJ on the pine for that closing. So yeah, I'm with you, and that additional playmaking, him breaking down and now shooting well with, instead of that floater, he has a little jumper in the paint that I like. That's a lot more accurate using his left hand. So we've seen, great development. We talked about him only being on the 4.2 million for next year quickly. So let's be patient. Let's see that development, but hopefully that 34.9 3-point shooting, that he gets it up, at least at league average, man. He came to this league, with the term as a sniper. He just hasn't, but the good thing is he averaged 39% his first 2 years from the floor. He's up to 43.6. So that's good. Good. So hopefully let's build on that. Hopefully the young man can bring up that 3-point percentage.
Yeah, and also with Quick, people say that he should, start and whatnot, but with the way he's performing and the way the second unit kind of thrives with him out there on the court with them, I'm perfectly fine with him on the bench. And you mentioned him closing, and you're more concerned about who closes games. You could make an argument that Quickley should have closed the game against the Jazz. He had a solid performance. The only thing is, you can see why RJ and Josh Hart was out there, because the Jazz have a bigger lineup, and you really needed, RJ's size out there for the rebounding, even though Quick is a good rebounder, but RJ and his rebounding was definitely something
still 6'6". You're right.
And then you have Josh Hart, who's 6'5" with a solid wingspan, and we've already said is one of the best rebounders under 6'6". So I can understand why Tibbs didn't go to a guy like Quick in that scenario, and it ended up working out working out in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Hey, that's nice to have that luxury and that leverage to say, go to Quick, go to Grimes, go to Josh, who's playing well. And if RJ's not, so the best guy is up.
Yep, and it adds to our depth on the perimeter. Now we've got multiple defenders we can throw at people. We wanted Deuce or Cam to be specialists and things like that, but now we got guys that we can throw out there in a Josh Hart and Emmanuel Quickley that can kind of be stoppers to guys on the perimeter without having to necessarily look down the bench for a quote unquote specialist.
Yeah, hey, Deuce really impressed me yesterday. He's a smart guy. He knows he's going to be the one that's really impacted greatly by this Josh Hart. But he was doing his Theo Pinson, and I mean this in a positive note. He was jumping up. He was clapping his hands. He was there for his teammates. And you've heard Tibbs talk about Deuce in loving words. That I love this kid. I like what he does in the gym, how hard he's working. So I have a lot of respect for Deuce, man.
Fact. And also, Deuce was out there helping Josh Hart as well, showing him where he needed to be on defense and helping him with his assignments and whatnot. So you like that camaraderie and that the teamwork you're seeing out there from the guys.
Mm-hmm.
especially from somebody that just got kicked out of the rotation.
Yeah.
Let's see. Reggie Jones says y'all need to relax. Hart just played one game. I don't think we
Yo,
really
what
got
do we
crazy
do?
about
Are you
Hart.
looking at the thing, Reggie? Do we have 2 red things on Josh Hart? So we're
Yeah,
keeping it real.
right. We didn't use any superlatives with Hart or nothing. We're just saying he gives a lot of effort, and if he can knock down the three, he's gonna be eating away at minutes of some of the other guys on the court. And that's not necessarily our opinion per se. That's based off what Tibbs is saying. Tibbs sounds like he's willing to use Josh Hart in as many scenarios as he can find. So, as long as Josh Hart is playing well, I think he's going to be a big role, whether it be with the second unit or with the starting unit at some point.
Exactly. So we're trying to keep it real, saying, "Yo, man, his foul shooting is below league average, and so is his 3-point. But it doesn't show here, but he averages 70% at finishing accuracy at the rim. So that's why he's finishing the 50.4 from the floor is in green. But we try to keep it real here.
We got 170 in chat, but we only got 58 likes. Do us a solid. If you haven't liked the stream already, now would be a great time to do so. Also, if you're not subscribed, also make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you're notified. That way, whenever we live stream. We typically live stream Sundays at 6 p.m. Of course, we're live streaming today at around 4:10 due to the Super Bowl. And but normally we're streaming 6 p.m. next Sunday. So I think we'll be streaming around 6 p.m. next Sunday as well. What time is the game next Sunday?
I
No
don't
game
know.
next Sunday, so we're good. We're in the clear. So definitely 6 p.m. Make sure you guys are tuned in.
I love you.
Boxing, you can't. I know I'm on CP time sometimes, but you can't let them know that. The audience don't need to know that.
You're the coolest. Yo, shout out to my guy Gregory Castillo. He says, "Does Knicks have room for Stanley Johnson? I think it will be good for y'all." Yo, he's a San Antonio Spurs spy, Gregory. I'm only goofing. He is, he's down there, but he's great eye. And I don't know about Stanley. Is he on his 43rd or 44th team? Gregory, I don't know what he'll bring. He can't shoot. And this team needs shooting. We have one dog already, and his name's Josh Hart that we picked up. I just don't know if there's any room for him, and I don't think he's 6'8", so.
Let's head over to the next slide. Look at some of the team rankings. We're trending upwards in points per game, and now 15th in the league. Still third in the league in rebounds per game, which is dope. We've still trending downward when it comes to assists at 22.5. Field goal percentage, we stayed the same at 24th in the league with a 46% field goal percentage. 3-point, we're shooting 34.4% from 3, and that's trending downward as well. 24th in the league at that stat. And then free throw shooting, we're at 77.1%, which is good enough for 23rd in the league, and we're trending downward there as well. So we got a few stats trending downward, but hopefully, with this trade and with the rosters settled and everyone knowing that they're going to be here for the rest of the season, hopefully we can see some of these stats start to trend upward. You saw Evan Fournier saying now he can finally unpack, and I'm pretty sure a lot of Knicks are pretty relieved post-trade deadline. So hopefully we can start to gel and help pick these stats up a little bit higher.
Yeah, and with our team keeping it real against some of the other teams getting into the playoffs that have all-star caliber players, we can't win with this team, folks, if we don't shoot better from the foul. We can't be at 23rd in the league from the foul line. We can't be 24th. We have to hit those 3 points. When we had that magical year, Alec Burks was over 40, D Rose was over 40, Randle was over 40, RJ was over 40. That's critical, especially in today's basketball, NBA. So hopefully in the next 20 games that we can make a significant impact on those two metrics right there on foul shooting and 3 points, and also assists. 29th in the league, man. Yeah, that's not that. You gotta up that. Come on. Too much ISO.
Too ISO heavy, yep. It's crazy sometimes. And then also now if we get into the analytics, offensive rating trending upwards. So we're 6th in the league in that at 116.3. Defensive rating, we're trending downwards. We're now 20th in the league at 114.7. So hopefully that addition of Josh Hart will definitely help in this regards. Our net rating still solid ranking at 10th in the league at plus 1.6. Our offensive effective field goal is at 52.7, which is 25th in the league. Defensive effective field goal percentage is at 52.9, which is good enough for 6th in the league. And pace is 96.7, which is bad enough for 28th in the league. So definitely something we got to get up the pace a little bit. I think we play better when we up the pace, but stay within control. I think that's something we have to make sure we don't do, because when we start to push the pace a little bit, sometimes guys like Randle get a little bit frazzled, and you see, the turnovers start to happen. So, got to find a happy medium in terms of the pace.
Yeah, we had 18 fast break points yesterday, which was surprising for us. But folks, that second one, that defensive rating, 20th, we can't go anywhere, make a run in these playoffs with that type of defensive rating. Hopefully with Josh Hart, everyone's going to clamp down now, make this final run. And what Key said earlier, the big difference is going to be Mitch getting here. If we can get him back, and we know that he's not the finally conditioned athlete, so it's going to take him a little while to get his win where he can play a little over 5-minute stints before being gassed. But if we can get Mitch back, get him into some type of shape right before the playoffs where Mitch can be Mitch, I'm hoping if we have to be 10th or lower on the defensive rating. It's just not going to work. Being a 20th, ranking 20th, it's going to haunt us.
Yeah, especially when you have a guy that's supposed to be a defensive savant. Team should be performing better defensively.
Yep.
All right, and we mentioned
he meant Tibbs by that, folks.
In case you didn't know. Speaking of Mitchell Robinson, we've got a few updates. This is Mitchell Robinson on what doctors specifically perform surgery on. He says, "I ain't asked no questions. I just wanted my shit fixed." So classy response from Mitch, but I believe he broke his thumb, right?
Yeah, he broke his thumb. He's such a different type of cat, man. You can't help but like him. He's just a different type of cat, man. When we saw that, we burst out laughing and said, if you haven't seen that, the SV Nation hasn't seen it, we want to share it. But he's hysterical, this dude.
Yeah, Mitch being Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch being on planet Mitch, man. He's on his own planet.
Facts. It says Mitchell Robinson is out until after the All-Star break, Tom Thibodeau said. So we won't expect to see him until what I would think maybe first or second week of March is my guess.
Yeah, I was hoping maybe the last week of February that you and I from football and everything, that he goes to somebody that his thumb is healed well enough to a point. Now let's get a special cast or something to put over that hand, because a one-armed Mitch on defense is still better than a two-armed Jericho Sims. So we hopefully we can get him one way or the other back in this lineup. We need him in the worst way.
And we've only got 3 games that he would probably be able to return for in February. You've got a game against the Wizards on the 24th. You've got a game against the Pelicans on the 25th. And then you've got a game against the Celtics on the 27th. So if he's able to come back in one of those 3 games, that'll be big for us. But if not, we would definitely need him for that first week of March. We're going up against the Nets are the new look Nets, so not too concerned about them at the moment. But you're going up against the Heat, Boston, Sacramento, Clippers, Lakers, Portland, Denver. It gets tricky in the first half of March, so we need him ASAP.
And we can't lose any games anymore, folks. Every game is a major game for us, so we got to take each one. This week coming up, there's some really big games. The game against the Hawks, they have a game and a half on us. I think it's Wednesday. Yeah, that's a big game. We got to bring the game face on there, man. But every game. So Mitch, please come back. Please come back healthy. Let's say prayers to the Lord that thumb heals to a level that we can get him in there with a special, like I said, appliance or something on that thumb to protect it. But get him in there and even to a level just for. So when it is finally healed, at least he's had some, wind sprints of real game time to get into shape. Because remember when he came back, folks, he was terribly out of shape.
Yeah, so I'm looking here. We're a game and a half ahead of the Hawks, and we're a game and a half behind the Heat. And then we're 3 games behind the Nets, who you expect to come down. And we play them twice in like the next 2 weeks. No, we play them Monday, and then we play them the first March 1st. So some important games, like you mentioned, are coming up, especially when it comes to the standings and trying to battle for playoff positioning.
Well, tomorrow's a big night. We've lost 9 straight to the Nets. I think we put a line in the sand that KD ain't there no more. Kyrie there ain't there no more. We ain't losing to you ain't no more. So I love us to put a line in the sand and stop that curse of losing to the Nets and then attack the Hawks. But seriously, every game should be treated like a playoff game because it literally is. We don't want to get into the play-in, man. We want to get into the playoffs. We want to avoid that.
Even that game against the Nets, it's a lose-lose situation because we win, we beat the Nets without KD and Kyrie.
I don't give a shit about that.
We lost to the Nets without KD and Kyrie. So no matter what happens, we're going to hear it after that game.
Yeah, but as long as we have a win, that makes us closer to the playoffs. So, hey, a couple of quick shout outs. Trish D, salute Keith, salute Foxy. Hey Trish, really appreciate, we've been chopping it up in the comments on the replays and stuff like that. Really appreciate talking with you. I see the one, the only Ron Cleveland, man. Hope all is well with you and your family. I see Jarvis LaFleur, from New Orleans, Louisiana's finest. Hope all is well with your family. And I know his mom hasn't been feeling well. So just wanted to shout that out. And also Richard Graham. I haven't seen him in the chat, but we chopped it up. He's in remission from his leukemia. So been saying lots of prayers for him. He loves our show. So Richard, if you're listening, man, you have our prayers. You have our love. We want you better. We see Shimmy MD. We appreciate Shimmy. I hope you saw the slides a couple of minutes ago that has your input, the plus minus or the trend analysis. We listen to our thing to the SV Nation. So if you have any ideas about how to make our slides more intuitive, please send it our way. Shout out to Core Mega as always, man. Julian Blum, my Bronx brother. Love you, man.
Yep, as we say, you guys are always the third co-host of Sports Vibes TV and our live streams here. So let us know your recommendations and we'll review them and see how we can incorporate them into the show.
Word.
All right. So now let's get into someone who I think has kind of been forgotten and it's been off people's radar. And that's going to be my guy, Rokas Jokubaitis. Over there in Barcelona, only 22 years old. He's a point guard that we drafted, 2 years ago? Drafted in the same draft in which we drafted our guy Deuce. Drafted in 2 picks before Deuce, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, he went 34. Deuce went 36, but Herb Jones went 35. So our lockdown defender went 35. So I love you, Rokas, but boy, I wish we had Herb Jones on this team.
Foxy, you'll never let us live it down.
Yo, right now we wouldn't be talking about Mikal Bridges because we'd have our lockdown 3. We'd be set foundationally of doing having that defense. Man, Josh Hart and Herb Jones, that'd be scary.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. So looking at our guy Rokas, paying attention to what he's been doing over there in Europe, been averaging 7 points per game, 2 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game, 1.2 turnovers per game, and you just love the efficiency. He's shooting 45.7% from the field, 44.8% from the three-point line, 81.8% from the charity stripe, in about 17 minutes per game. Now the issue is, will we ever see Rokas in a Knicks jersey? Because he wants to have some assurances before he comes over. So we may not see him in a Knicks jersey, but one thing is, if he continues to play as well as he's been playing overseas, we could view him as some potential trade bait. We traded our first round pick for this year, even though it's conditional, but I think most Knicks fans would hope that does convert into a first round pick, because if it doesn't, that means we would have missed the playoffs that ended up in the lottery. So maybe a guy like Rokas is someone we can dangle out there in the offseason as a trade piece to help bring in some more talent to this roster. So Foxy, what have you seen from Rokas during his time in Barcelona this season? Any improvements?
Absolutely improvements. He's playing with Thomas Satoransky, ex-NBA player. He's playing with James Nagy. He'll probably be a first-round draft choice. A center there where he's doing some beautiful pick and rolls. Like you're saying, he's hitting those threes. He's very good. He is a point, a floor general, so he is like a bigger, obviously he's not Jalen Brunson, but to have a second team, to have a player like this, Goran Dragic, He's of that ilk. A lefty, super smart, makes the players around them better. You were out in Vegas when he played in the summer league, and you saw the guys on the thing goofing with him and stuff. Just the
Yeah,
opposite of
one of
Luca,
the guys.
just the opposite of Luca
Yeah,
Veldosa. So like you said, hopefully, we'll see him again in summer league. But if not, as Keith said, folks, he was the rising star last year. He won that award. Luca won that award, the who's who. So this guy got game. He's 22, has that 6'9", he's 6'4", big boy. He's Lithuanian. Lithuanian players are tough dudes. So if not, like he said, he's a valuable draft asset. So, but I'd love to see what he has. Hey, I like Miles McBride, but he's not a floor general.
yeah, and you've got a coach over in Barcelona and Sarunas who's really invested in making Rokas one of the best point guards he can be. And I think if he's able to take that step and become a legitimate starting caliber point guard, he'll be extremely valuable. I think right now, the way he has been playing so far, he'd be a good backup point guard in the league. I think he has decent enough dribble to create for himself somewhat, and he has some physicality to his game as well in terms of driving and trying to finish through traffic, knock down the three, and things like that. So he's
What
definitely
vision?
someone. Great vision and the ability to maintain his dribble too. That's one thing he definitely worked on up until the NBA draft. When we drafted him, he wanted to work on getting into the paint, maintaining his dribble, and that's something that we've seen from him during his time over with Barcelona. So it's all going to come down to whether or not the Knicks are going to give him some assurances as to how many minutes he's going to play. I don't see him playing for the Knicks as long as Tom Thibodeau is a coach, because he's still not great defensively. He's decent, he's serviceable, but he's not someone I would say is a lockdown defender per se. So trade bait might be the best option, the best we can hope for. But if we move on from Tibbs, for some reason this offseason, I could definitely see him coming over and be a backup point guard. Imagine having him and Emmanuel Quickley as your 1 and 2 off the bench. I think that would be a pretty lethal duo.
Yeah, but very similar to what we do with Jalen, try to hide him on defense. If you have on that second team IQ and you have a Josh Hart, you could hide a guy like that on defense, but he's still 6'4". He's a bigger dude, yep. and he's super smart and savvy. So it'd be interesting. But folks, we love giving you, Keith is Mr. Rokas Jokubaitis. He was one of the first guys. So we just wanted to give you that update. Hey, we have a super chat from Parrish.
Oh, do we? Let me see. Oh, my fault, Parrish. We almost missed it. Thank you, Foxy, for catching that. He says, we got nothing but playoff opponents, so it's not easy. Yeah, in the month of March, it'll be an extremely difficult trip, especially the first 2 weeks or so. So, Parrish, thank you for pointing that out. We really do appreciate the support.
Yeah, shout out to my friend Danny Landis. I hope all is well with you and your family. The one and only Ron Cleveland said, just imagine how the Knicks would look right now going into the offseason if we didn't pay RJ.
Yeah, that's another thing, man. We jumped the gun paying RJ. Not saying RJ's not signed to a decent contract, but it kind of held up what we could do at this trade deadline because of the poison pill clause in his contract. And I'm not 100% sure that the front office is sold on RJ Barrett. I'm of the belief that they only extended him on that contract to try and save face, knowing that the Donovan Mitchell trade didn't go through. So it definitely could be looked at as a mistake from the front office, which they could potentially remedy in the offseason if they do move on from him, or RJ can continue to knock down the three and finish with high efficiency and play better on defense and justify that contract a little bit more. It can go both ways. We'll have to see how it goes, though.
Yeah, great take, Mr. Cleveland.
Yep, appreciate that. All right, so before we wrap up, as usual, I have Foxy head out and go on a little scouting trip for us and bring forward a prospect that the Knicks should have on their radar this coming NBA draft. Now, does the trade of our protected first-round pick change anything for you, Foxy, or is it?
No, I think we could maybe get this guy, and I'll go into a little detail in a second with the Dallas pick.
Okay, so let's get into it. Who would you think the Knicks should be targeting in this upcoming NBA draft?
Well, folks, his name is Trevon Brazile. And I'll give a little story. A couple of years ago, there was a player named OG Anunoby. He played for Indiana, and he was probably going to be he was definitely be a lottery pick. He blew his knee out with an ACL injury, and he dropped to 23rd in the draft. Unfortunately, on December of this year, Trevon blew his knee out. And so this kid is 6'10", 7'3" wingspan. Really, as you can see, he shot 37.9 from 3, 48.1, 1.2 blocks. He had, 42 and a half inch vertical. The kid is uber athletic. We've seen, Zach come back from ACL. We've seen a lot of guys come back from ACL. So this is a stash pick. So this is a late first round pick that, just like Toronto did with OG, they rehabbed him for a year, folks. And then have him good. We talked about Hart earlier in the stream that he hasn't been the stretch five that that was promoted at all. And this kid has a really nice release. Arkansas, he played his first year actually in Missouri and second year at Arkansas. It's a shame he went down, but he definitely, in my book, would have been a lottery pick this year. Quickness, great first step, blocking shots. The thing that we talked about, Obi, we don't have a forward that from the weak side that's a shot blocker, a rim protector, that's, a rebounder. This kid was, rebounds and stuff like that on a stacked Arkansas team. So this is a stash pick for me with we don't know what's going to happen with Obi. We know that we have him under contract for $6.8 million next year. That which is still relatively cheap. We don't, Julius has been unbelievably durable, but in case he goes down for a little time and we see that Obi gets some burn and his trade value goes up, and it's nice to always, as a GM putting on a GM hat to have somebody, the next man up. This is a good guy. You can't teach 6'10" and 7'3" wingspan. This may be a smart move for us to just nurture him, G League. And then in 1 year, a couple of years, all of a sudden, at 21 years old, he's only 20 now. At 21, all of a sudden, wow, we got a guy just like OG Anunoby that was a steal. OG, he has his athleticism back from that ACL. This kid will definitely have his athleticism. And like I said, he had off the chart, 42 and a half inch. That's almost 4 freaking feet, and he's already 6'10". So unfortunately, we can't see him at the combine and stuff like that. But don't be surprised a team like Toronto or somebody scoops this kid up in the late 20s, the late part of the first round, because he's a value pick. He has a touch. I love guys that have a soft touch and on his mechanics and stuff like that. So I think it's something to look at.
So I hear you on him being a stretch big that could definitely add something to this team. But if you had to say or point out his biggest weakness, not including, the ACL injury, what would you point to?
Oh, you can see all these kids, they can't shoot foul shots. They don't spend any time on the foul line and stuff like that. And most of all, 215 pounds. So it's a year of rehabbing that knee and a year of like IQ when we saw him coming in, a year in that strength room, a year getting a better diet, packing on muscle and maybe getting up to 225, 230. Because in that power forward position, center position, you want to hold your spot or be able to and do that. So putting on a little more weight, getting a little stronger, but he has an explosive first step that I'm pretty, I feel very confident with today's technology that he'll be coming back from that ACL injury. So, this team needs an unbelievable infusion of athleticism on this team, and to get somebody of that 6'10" with that 7'3" wingspan that blocks shots, I'm not talking starter, but that he could be a steal, folks. Where we're picking, we don't have our pick, but we have Dallas's pick. So this is somebody that could be available there. And like I said, a savvy team like Toronto, they picked OG. I could see a team like that going for a Trevon, or that they have enough of their wings. I have a year to wait for him to rehab and come into his being. And I think our stacked depth allows us to have that same leverage.
And you mentioned OG as a comparable in terms of the injury and somebody that was able to return from it. But do you have another player comp in terms of, similar skill set, similar game? Like a Jaren Jackson? Jr. or something like that?
That's a very, very good. Thank you. That Jaren Jackson, a shot blocker like that, he could hit threes. That's a great comp. In fact, Jaren Jackson, that he has that size. Shot blocker, could hit the three, and he just needs to get stronger. So that's beautiful. Thank you, my friend. Great comp.
And you'd say you'd probably be someone the Knicks would target towards the latter half of the first round, like what, 25 to the end of the draft, end of the first?
Depends on how well Kyrie plays. So
how well those two mesh.
Yeah, exactly. So if they don't mesh, maybe we can get him at 23 and let's see, or like at least 29 or 28. But he may be available, and I'd rather get somebody that you could stash for a year that'll be something really good than just picking somebody that, no, we're already stacked. We're all full up on 6'5" guys. And there's a couple guys, Justin Wilson on Kansas, having a fantastic year, 6'8", really good. I just think he's too slow. He's worrying me that he'd be too slow in the NBA. So I'm looking for that athleticism and those hops and stuff like that. I love shot blockers.
And I see here from Eddie Alvarez, wings, and more wings is what we need. Would he, after he recovers from ACL, would he be someone that can kind of guard some of the quicker wings out there on the perimeter?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, and that's why I brought up his unbelievable athleticism. He has that lateral quickness. He has that foot speed for him to guard, from 2 to 4, 2 to 5. That he won't be like we've seen. He'll be able to be a perimeter defender.
All right, sounds good. Sounds like a pretty interesting prospect. I hope we draft somebody because I want to see somebody in Summer League. We're shipping off these first round picks. And with a coach like Tibbs, I'm not too shocked if we don't make any selections once again in the NBA draft. So,
got that right.
Get used to it.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll wrap it up there. Had a solid stream. I don't want to hold you guys too long. I know everybody has their the Super Bowl events they have to get prepared for. We got 174 in chat, only 79 likes. Do us a solid before you leave the stream. Smash that like button. Get us over that 100 metric. We definitely appreciate it. It'll help out the stream and it'll help out the channel in the long run. Foxy, anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Just reiterating, folks, it doesn't cost you a second. Please, you know how hard we work behind the scenes to bring you all these stats and everything else. It doesn't cost you a thing. Please hit that like, and if you don't mind, please hit that subscribe. We're a blink away from 6.4. We'd love to finish out this year at 7,000 subscribers. So thank you so much for all your support. But please hit that like Keith said, that algorithm on YouTube can be awful friendly and awful bad. And that 100 metric really, really helps us where people will see that. And, just a quick shout out to all the truckers, and we get from truckers and Uber drivers. A lot of people just love listening to Sports Vibe TV while they're either delivering stuff, people, or packages and stuff like that. So shout out to them. Shout out to the vets. We love the vets here. Whatever military service, we appreciate all your service, and also first responders. So we love you guys. Thank you for your support of Sports Vibe TV. And like we said, if you can't catch the show live, we love chopping it up. Every week it's getting close to 100. Last week it was 166 comments. This week it wasn't so much. It was like 70 something. So it gets up there, but we love that. And we love that you're, that we're touching something in you, that you it'll listen to a response that you want to chop it up. And from both Keith and I, we answer every single one. And it's not just thank you. We go into detail about what you ask, and we go back and forth. So thank you so much, man. We appreciate that support. So one last thing, like we said, if you haven't hit that like, come on, do us a solid, man. We are up to 90. 10 away. So come on, hook us up in the last few seconds before we go. But thanks again. And again, shout out to Tristy, Cormega, Keith Turner, Dirty Dancer, the one and only Geraldine MacGyver, Danny Landis, Dwayne Dennis, Eddie Alvarez, as we were saying, Jarvis LaFleur again, saying prayers for your mom, all of you. We love you. We'll see you. Ron Cleveland. Thanks for driving by, and we'll see you next Sunday in the 6 p.m. or so time frame, back at our regular time, and hopefully we'll have a lot of good news about the games that happened this past week.
Facts. Also, Keith Turner says we can't trade Rokas. We don't own his rights anymore. As far as I know, we haven't included Rokas in any deal or anything like that. So, yeah, we still own his rights.
We still own his rights, Keith.
Yeah, and Dirty Dancer went a little crazy. Said we hold Rokas' rights until his death, literally. It's like slavery, bro.
I didn't report on it, but folks, a lot of you don't know that in the trade with Josh and everything, we got the rights to 2 European players. One guy that's 29 years old. Yeah. One guy's 31 years old. And the craziest thing, if you go to Basketball Reference, we have the rights to like 6 guys in Europe that are like 93 years old. It's hysterical. It's like, why do we even own those rights? They'll never make the NBA ever at this age and stuff like that. But it's such crazy stuff. But Rokas is in a whole nother league than those guys were fooling around. So, but we definitely still own his rights.
Yeah. So we got the 95. Didn't get to 100 exactly, but we got close. I think
another super chat.
Oh, did we? Oh, salute to Paris Duggar again for the super chat. He says, gonna use picks to clear cap space for Donovan and free agency. Well, we got another 2 years before we have to do that. So.
Yo, Parrish, look at the stats of Brunson and look at the stats of Donovan Mitchell.
Hold on 1 second. I actually have that in the flesh.
That's my guy. That's my guy. Yeah.
I don't know if I can put it on screen. Let me see if I can put it on screen. Bear with me. I know
for sure.
I know we said we were going to leave, but.
Nah, Lex the Destroyer pulled up. So Lex, 9 more likes. Lex is one of the greatest mods in history, folks. So he's always our good luck charm. So Lex, let's get us over that 100 mark.
Yeah, so let me put it on screen just to show you a comparison of what Donovan Mitchell has been doing compared to Jalen Brunson. Because I can say it, but I think it hits harder when you actually see it on screen. So bear with me as I pull it up. Here's a little improvisation here at the end of the live stream. You never know what you're going to encounter here at Sports Vibes TV.
Yeah, I know, but just don't bring up the picture of you in a bikini in Mexico, man.
Out there, full speedo.
Oh, no.
Oh, man.
The only thing worse than you in a speedo is me in a speedo.
Get it? Boom. All right, we should be good to go now. Oh, it did a share. What's going on?
Come on. Steph says Knicks should sign John Wall on his buyout with Rockets. No. So thanks for the feedback, but no John Wall.
No. First of all, we have enough guards as is.
Yeah,
that's number one. And then number two, John Wall is washed. And I say that with all due respect.
Yeah, he's the fastest wash guy I've ever seen.
Right, you can go in a straight line, but get me a bucket to set teammates up. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know, Brick City and everything else behind it. So, Steph, thanks for the feedback. But I think we're gonna. Yeah, there we go. Right, there we go. You can take down Parrish for a second.
Whoopsie. All right, so here we go. So Donovan Mitchell over his last 25 games, and of course this is from Nick Muse. He's been averaging 24.9 points per game while shooting 45.7% from the field, 4.8 assists per game, 4.1 rebounds per game while shooting 35.2% from the three-point line. Now, Jalen Brunson in his last 25 games, he's been averaging 27.2 points per game, which is higher than Mitchell, shooting the rock better at 49% from the field as opposed to Mitch shooting 45.7%. He's averaging 6.2 assists and 3.9 rebounds while also shooting 45.8% from the three-point line. Now, this is not to say that he's better than Donovan Mitchell, but we've been getting similar, if not better, production from a guy like Jalen Brunson. So like Fox said at the beginning of the stream, it's definitely a shame that Brunson has not been elected into the All-Star game because he's playing like an All-Star, that's for sure.
Yeah, and we could hide 161 guard. We just can't hide two.
True. We can't hide too many people on D.
So, but thanks, Parrish. Hopefully, this makes you feel like, all right, I think let's focus our energies at somebody 6'7", 6'8", and above. We're pretty set on the other positions. And Hail Mary full of grace that RJ, picks his game up that to the level that's of a number 3 pick in a draft.
Yep. And Steph says, what about Brickbrook? No, we don't need Brickbrook.
Goes from John Wall to Brickbrook.
We don't need any of them. Don't need. I mean, if Sadiq Bey hits free agency for some reason, we can go after him, but not these guards that are washed and past their prime. Brickbrook, I won't say he's washed. He can still contribute. It's just his play style isn't conducive to winning, and he's almost like Melo when he got banished the first time. Really can't adjust his game to coming off the bench or being productive in a smaller role. So Brickbrook, we got to stay far away from.
Yeah, he's living in the past, man. If he didn't want to be second fiddle to LeBron to win a championship, then he sure ain't gonna be cool with letting our young kids develop.
He would have been third or fourth fiddle on that.
No doubt, Anthony. No doubt, but you could see the looks that LeBron was giving him. Like, man, what was I thinking? Telling them to get this guy. I look you off. I'm LeBron. You don't look me off. Nobody looks me off. And but Russell did. So, but he's no longer there, and I don't know.
Got out of there.
I don't know where the hell he's gonna end up, but. I don't know for a young team if he would be he had a legendary career, but he's just not
bound. Just not the same player he used to be. Even when he was, putting up Hall of Fame and elite level numbers, that it just wasn't conducive to Dubs. That's why KD got out of there.
Yeah.
All right, and we got to 99. Can one of y'all put us out of our
99?
One more like.
We got 99 likes, and that ain't my problem.
Right? I got 99 likes, but the last one.
Show the love. One person. You're the grand prize winner if that last person hits. So, hey, Jason.
Hey, 102. Let's get it.
Yo.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yo, Jason B, going to heaven. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We really do appreciate it. We'll wrap it up now, even though I know we kind of pump faked and said we'd wrap it up earlier, but had to show you guys that last slide before we got off. Thank you guys once again for the stream. Solid support. We got up to almost 200 and we got over 100 likes. That's all we can ask for. We really do appreciate it. Anything before we sign off, Foxy?
Thank you so much for your support. We can't wait to see you next Sunday. Go Knicks, go, man. We got a
go New York, go New York, go
New York, go New York, go. So, hey, by the way, where's the place to be?
Sports Vibes TV. You already know it.
Yeah, that's a Snapple fact.
Sure. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. As usual, I'm Keith, joined as always by Stephen Fox, and we're out.
Love you.